Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life. And I will be recording from a different angle of my hotel room here in Ukraine because I'm a bit late in recording. So, today I want to talk about how do we know if we're really committed to whatever we want to be committed to, right? How do we really know what are our criteria, so to say, for being committed to it? And this could also be very helpful for you to think about if you are planning to transition as well, because commitment will be key to transitioning successfully. And as you may have heard already, that I'm working on this program on how to transition successfully, and I will finish it and make it available as of September is my goal. So stay tuned. We will be also talking about how to grow commitment, how to be committed to getting to what you want in life. And here I wanted to just give you quick maybe things for you to consider and think about and measure for yourself. Basically, how do you know if you're committed to the cause, to the relationship, to the feelings and values that you really care about, right? Because oftentimes I think we think about or we talk about how committed we are to whatever we want to be committed to, but then there might be that like feeling of certain insecurity or thinking of maybe that's not really true, but I'm just saying it because I have been saying it for so long, right? So that's why I really wanted to put this together for any of us to use if we are not really sure if we're committed or not. So these are the ways that I suggest that you have a look at whether you are really committed to your work, your transitioning, or your relationships. So I would look at this from 4 different perspectives. One is you know that you are committed if you are fueled by freedom within you, love and passion, or spark to be doing this, to be working on this, or to be having this relationship no matter what the external circumstances tell you to do. If you don't agree with them, you will continue doing it or having it no matter what, because you're fueled by those freedom and love and passion within you. Another way to look at it would be that you're willing to learn and see how it goes and how it works. And you're willing to do that and wanting to measure things or somehow see where it's going, and doing that from a perspective of being curious, from the perspective of learning and growing with it. Another way you can see or know that you're committed or not, in this case, how committed you are, is if you are not taking fractioned actions or ad hoc actions of fixing here or fixing there, but rather looking at a holistic way, right? It's a holistic way of a long-term goal or long-term vision or long-term cause that you want to work on, and you are not really trying to change up your mind in between. And the last point of looking at how committed you are, if this could be the case for you, where you are interested in the long-term gains of it, the results of it, the pleasures or fruits of it, even though you don't see the immediate short-term results, and therefore you're willing and exciting to work on it or have it or continue moving towards it. Because if you think about it, commitment really is this skill, but also the skill based on our belief that we're willing to do this no matter what, right? And that's why whenever you have the committed version of you, to the relationship, to the transitioning even. Commitment means when you are willing to do this, even the road gets very difficult. You're willing to and wanting to do this, even if you don't see any results that you expected to see now and here, because your feelings of love, feelings of wanting to make a difference, feelings of freedom, of doing this no matter what, drives you. Now, when I speak about this, of course, there might be, a contrast helpful to understand when you're not committed, right? Because oftentimes I think we can know one thing really by contrasting to something else. Like oftentimes I say that, happiness, we wouldn't know that it existed if sadness was not available, right? So it's like, I'm sure you've heard about this a lot, but I just wanted to show you the contrast of when you might not be committed, and you can always check with yourself why that is and what you want to do with it if you don't like the answers, right? So the way that you know that you are not committed, or you're not really committed to the cause or to the relationship, to the values, whatever it is that you want to be committed to, could be if you are experiencing these, right? So one, it could be if you're expecting or keep expecting results immediately, reciprocity immediately, like tit for tat conversations of if I do this, then I have to get this, right? So if I make this available, or if I help with this, I need to get something else in return. In other words, you are always conditioning your work with something else, saying that if I put this work out, then I need to get this. And if I put this work out, I have to see that it's working. And if it's not working, then I give up. This like all or nothing kind of energy of always trying to be very how should I say, like pedantic, but also very stringent, constraining, restraining yourself and saying it has to be either this or that kind of an attitude, is when you might not be really committed to it. Because if the conditions are not met, then you are basically saying, I'm not in it, I'm not continuing with it, right? The other one, obviously, is the big one, is if you are doing this out of fear, right? So oftentimes we may have a situation like people stay in their work because they fear they may not find any other job. Or they stay in their relationships because they think that they may not be able to find another partner, another spouse, and that's why they just keep in that relationship. So that's when you know that you are not really committed, but you are acting out of fear, but you are still calling it maybe a commitment because that feels good to you. The other one is not maybe even fear, but more like a complacency, right? Or more like a routine. You are used to doing it. You may as well continue doing it. Even though you don't see any results, you don't really see any benefit from it, or you don't really believe that it will result in something big, or you don't really believe that you will achieve anything anyway, but you do it anyway because you've been doing it for so long, or you've been doing it because you thought this is how things are. And it's not really commitment, but it's more like it's a comfort that's driving the car, not the commitment. Because the commitment being that dedication, that urge to wanting to make a difference, if we're talking about cause, right? Or if we're talking about relationship, it's that commitment and dedication to experiencing love, sharing passion. If we're doing it for our values, then expressing it, even if when there is nothing we're receiving in return. So when I say all of this, of showing you how you could know that you're committed and how you could know that you're not committed, then I want to just clarify, or maybe just also give you some food for thought as to where the misconceptions might lie that we often interpret as, if we're committed, then obviously we have to be doing it even if we don't like it, or even if it's against our rules or principles or whatever. And this is what I want to clarify. So when we are talking about commitment, when we're having commitment, I'm not saying that commitment is without any boundaries. Right. So for instance, let's look at the job situation. We are committed to the cause. We want to make the difference in the world. We are doing all we can and engaging everyone else we can to solve for it, to make that difference. But it doesn't mean that at the expense of us dying, or at the expense of us being hurt, or having negative consequences of it, like being available the whole time, working 24/7, right? Or being flexible the whole time, or not caring really about our well-being and always being there for working purposes. Because the reason why it's not really commitment, because I think it's coming from a fear again, because all of these actions are coming from fear. While I believe that commitment comes from genuine love and genuine freedom. So that's why, if just because we're committed, it doesn't mean that we don't set boundaries. It doesn't mean that we don't rest. It doesn't mean that we don't take care of ourselves. It actually means that whenever we're committed, we are looking at things holistically, meaning that we also know how to take care of ourselves in the process of working for that cause, in the process of doing all the amazing things that we want to be doing, because we are there for the long game, right? If we're there for the long game, then obviously we will not be doing anything frantic, hustly, ad hoc, impulsive things in the moment. I mean, we may try to experiment and see if it works, if it doesn't, but it's still different than we just changing our minds, reacting to things, and just doing things because in the moment that somehow suits us. So, and therefore, we are also, these actions of that I stated of being available the whole time, being flexible the whole time, wanting to be liked by others, wanting to be approved by others, are also coming out of fear. But if we're really committed, we're not really worried about other people's opinions of us as humans, or our personalities. I mean, we may more be interested in how to get that cause done, or how to get that cause to be solved or to be resolved. So that's why I think it's important that when we are committed, we don't mix it with commitment means we just need to die doing whatever we're doing, or exhaust ourselves, overwhelm and drain ourselves to the point that we can't recognize ourselves, right? So that's a misconception that we need to be aware of. The other one is commitment means rescuing. And the reason I think why I personally don't like rescuing is because rescuing essentially undermines other people's ability to rescue themselves from whatever situation they are in. Of course, there might be always doctors and firefighters who might be physically rescuing people from their conditions. But other than that, I don't think there is such a way that we can rescue other adults. So supporting them, assisting them, absolutely. And if we're committed, we are also looking at the wider picture of how to impact more people with more effective, sustainable solutions rather than trying to rescue, in quotes, one person, right? And of course, absolutely important that we support individually, but we also know that rescuing is not really likely to result in what we're going for, what we're committing for. We're committing for if we're committing for the cause of whatever the cause we're committing to, then we know that we want to structurally look at the issues of how to resolve so that there is no need to rescue, in quotes, individually. And the other one that I think oftentimes the misconception is that commitment means trying out and see if it sticks, right? And as I was saying, that's actually, I think, the opposite of commitment is when we are not really willing to work on it long term to see how it works, whether our goals will be achieved, in what way, measuring along the way, instead of we will be just changing minds from here and there and conditioning ourselves the whole time so that we don't really show our commitment that way. And it's, I think, key here to also note that if we're committed, we believe that we will make it work before even start working on it. While trying and seeing if it works analogy is more like we don't have the belief, but we will action our way out to see what happens. So that's the opposite spectrums. And another misconception is that commitment means saying the right things and doing the right things, and that's commitment. And I feel like that's like very empty. How should I say? It's a bit like lying to ourselves type of commitment. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Is like when I say, for instance, oh, I'm committed to having a well physical health, right? And then I go to the gym and then I work out, but I don't really work out, but I ruminate or I hang around and then don't really do much of the exercises, but I just make the show of as if I'm doing it. That's not really commitment. It's more like on the word level, somehow I am doing the right quotes things, right? I am going to the gym, for instance, to work out, but I'm not really putting the effort to working on those muscles that I want to stay healthy, or working on those certain exercises. And if I genuinely don't make my if I don't put the effort to make the genuine workout, then it will just become like I'm somehow doing the right thing, but I'm not really achieving anything. So that, I think, for me is not really commitment, but somehow we oftentimes allow ourselves maybe to say it in the right way or to do the right things, but not really working on the quality of it, not really putting effort genuinely on the quality of how to get the result that we're committed to getting. And that's what we want in the end of the day, right? So whatever we're committed to doing, we want the quality level interactions to get to the results of what we want. We could always say things in the right way and do things in the right way, but if we're not really acting it out of love, out of passion, out of freedom to be really making that change, and keep measuring how to make that change, keep genuinely being curious and open to critically looking at it and making that change. Unless we do that, we're not likely to achieve what we want. And this concerns also the transitioning period. Is if we just say that we are ready to transition, we're committed to transitioning, but only until I don't know, only until we if we for instance, if we get 2 rejections, or if we can't really make our whatever our desires to work, if we can't make it work after some trials, then we're just giving up because it's not going to work. That's not really commitment. That was maybe temporarily an idea to work on it, but we haven't really achieved what we want. Because remember, commitment is no matter what, I'm going to make it work, or I'm going to have it, I'm going to value it, I'm going to love it, or love this person, whatever it is. So that's why whenever we are transitioning from the perspective of we will just see what happens, versus we believe that we will make whatever we want work, no matter what the outside circumstances, that's commitment. And I would love for all of us to work on generating, creating, and developing that type of skill of commitment that comes from genuine freedom within, from love, from passion, to having amazing relationships, to making or working on the causes we want to, and helping people, assisting, supporting people in the way we want to. Okay, my dears, this is what I have for today. Have an amazing weekend. I will be speaking to you next Friday. Until then, thank you so much for listening and supporting and accompanying me. Bye-bye.